Of an historic fourth indictment. Overnight, a Georgia district attorney charged former President Donald Trump with a new set of charges related to the 2020 presidential election.
The Fulton County grand jury accuses Trump and 18 others of a sweeping criminal conspiracy to overturn election results in that state. Reporter Caitlin Burke has the latest.
The indictment alleges that rather than abide by Georgia's legal process for election challenges, the defendants engaged in a criminal racketeering enterprise to overturn Georgia's presidential election result.
Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis has led a multi-year investigation into allegations of election interference. They were sparked in part by a phone call from then-President Trump. In it, he appeared to pressure Georgia's Secretary of State to find the votes needed to win back the White House.
Specifically, the participants in association took various actions in Georgia and elsewhere to block the counting of the votes of the presidential electors.
The 97-page indictment includes 13 new felony charges against Trump and 41 charges overall, including solicitation of violation of oath by a public officer, engaging in a conspiracy to replace public officials with fake electors, and plotting to tamper with voting machines. Others indicted include Trump Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, Rudy Giuliani, and John Eastman. In a Truth Social post early this morning, Trump called the prosecuting DA corrupt and accused her of stalling her investigation, writing, quote, "Why didn't they indict 2.5 years ago? Because they wanted to do it right in the middle of my political campaign. Witch hunt." Trump allies on Capitol Hill once again coming to his defense. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy tweeting, quote, "Americans see through this desperate sham." It's the fourth indictment handed down against the former president, including federal charges related to his handling of classified documents after leaving the White House and federal charges of an alleged scheme to overturn the 2020 election. On CBN's Faith Nation program, Nathan Gonzalez, editor and publisher of Inside Elections, predicts Trump supporters will remain unfazed.
I think that it will go in the same basket of these investigations. They're just out to get him, and they continue to be on his side.
You know, every time you get indicted, I like to check the polls because one more indictment that I think this election's over. One more.
District Attorney Willis gave all the defendants, including Trump, until Friday, August 25th to turn themselves in, and added she wants to hold the trial within the next 6 months. Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Washington.
CBN News chief political analyst David Brody joins us now. With all these indictments, we're seeing a lot of you lately, David, which is a good thing. The Georgia prosecutor used the term racketeering, a racketeering law, to bring the charges. How is this different from the earlier indictments?
Well, it's broader. There's not just Trump, it's 19 others. And so it goes into much more detail specifically of what happened in Georgia. But it is very similar to what Jack Smith was doing at the national level. But look, if you look inside the indictment, Andrew, the terms that are being used, criminal enterprise, in essence, Fani Willis is in essence saying that these are, in essence, mobsters kind of all in it to kind of fix the system or fix the situation down in Georgia. Hold on for a second. Donald Trump, let's be clear what he was doing. He thought there was fraud in the election. He wanted the Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, down in Georgia to look into it. If you listen to the phone call, and I've listened to it many times, and I've read the transcript many times as well, if you listen to it, Donald Trump is saying, what about this? What about this? So the point is that he wasn't asking for Brad Raffensperger to find votes that would definitely secure him the election, and if you didn't, you're in trouble. It wasn't anything like that. He wanted to know what in the world was going on. That is called protected free speech, according to many of the at least conservative lawyers that are talking about this. Not to mention, it's also allowed under the Federal Electoral Count Act at the time. So there's a lot to be parsed through here, but this is once again going to be a boon for Trump. There's no doubt about it.
Well, David, certainly Trump is insinuating and stating this is interference in the election. And no matter what side of the political aisle you're on, it would be hard to argue the timing of these indictments, the fourth now. If Trump weren't running for president, would all this action even be occurring, do you think?
Well, look, it's a good question. the short answer may be no, but I actually think the longer answer may be yes. And here's why. Because I think that the left and the Democrats in this country were out to get Trump no matter what. Ever since he glided down that escalator and won the presidency of the United States, they have just, it's been sitting with them. They've wanted revenge on him ever since that happened. So even if he wasn't running for president, I think they want to lock him up. I think they've been wanting to do that for a very long time. Andrew, if I could just kind of get down to brass tacks here. Here's what this is really about. Donald Trump, as we've talked about all along, is a fighter. He was fighting, in his view, that he believed the election was rigged and stolen and all of that. But look, if he's looking for fraud, he was trying to push back on this idea that government officials were just telling him it's over. He didn't believe it was over. Now, you could totally disagree with him on that. That's fine. But does he have a right to actually question the election? And in essence, he's pushing back against the narrative that the government in Georgia and the federal government and others said in this case. So that's what this is about. I believe this will definitely will go all the way to the Supreme Court if it even gets to trial, because this seems to be a freedom of speech issue here, and that's it in a nutshell.
Well, clearly Trump supporters aren't affected by the indictments. His numbers go up. But what about the Republican Party? What does this do to the party itself? There may be some in leadership who are glad to see this happen and could get Trump out of the way. Are others real concerned now about the election coming up? Where do you think it stands?
Well, they want Trump to disappear. I mean, the Mitch McConnells and many of the establishment folks on the Republican side want him to just leave and just go away. The problem is that he's not going away, and he just keeps getting stronger. And so clearly there's concerns about the general election from their vantage point. But I see this as a counterintuitive situation. I believe that this will actually embolden Donald Trump, help him in the general election with blue-collar, frustrated Rust Belt voters who see a government stacked against them. And I think the indictments will actually help him win back blue-collar voters in 2024.
All right, David, thank you. Always appreciate your insight. Thanks for being with us today.